Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. We are live. Alright, can you hear me now? Can you hear yourself now?
No, I can't. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Now we're live.
All right. How are you doing, everybody? Welcome today.
Well, I say we're live. The real question is, Andres, Harry, Blues, are we live? Okay, you can stop that now.
Okay. All right. So, thank you guys, Blues fan, Andres, Harry. Thank you all for being here. Today is actually the first official episode of the Houston Soccer Power Hour.
There you go.
And
gotta get you trained on it.
Yeah. So, welcome everybody. He is Sean, of course.
You know who we are.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, all the same.
But whenever, if you have new people listening in, like later when it becomes a podcast, you know.
Yeah, when people go back and look at the first official episode of this thing, and they're like, "What the heck were they thinking?"
Well, you know what they say. So, who are you? Give it a little.
Sean, you already said that. You already asked that.
I know, but can I give a little explanation? What are you?
I'm a guy who talks soccer a whole heck of a lot. Man, I didn't expect to be grilled on who the heck I am. That's exactly right, Blues. Exactly right. No, so, you know, I'm not going to worry about who we are. Everybody knows it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But, so as everybody who's watching knows at this point, the Peel has gone on hiatus as a result of personal inability to set aside necessary time to properly devote to the actual show. And so, you know, Edson and I kind of got together and you know, we'd been discussing and you know, we know that there's still definitely a need for soccer discussion here in Houston, especially covering the Dynamo and Dash and really RGV as well.
Yes.
In a way where, you know, there are other shows, not calling them out specifically, but Glenn Davis, not specifically at all, that because of their connections within the team, they're
very limited to what
they're not going to keep the team quite as accountable as maybe they really should. And so, you know, we really want this to be something, guys, where, you know, I don't even know how to put this really, to be honest. We want this to be something where we can still be that voice, you know, for you guys as much as possible. But one of our goals with this is to also bring some education to the fans out there. You are not wrong, Cisco. And
what's up, Omar?
So you know, there's a lot of questions, a lot of confusion around the Dynamo, around soccer here in Houston.
I feel like yeah, soccer in general has, as far as like the coverage, just reached a very a point of instability right now, because you have Corey get laid off.
That was just the worst. You know, and I know both of us were sitting there like, what in the world is the Cron thinking? And
yeah,
it gets worse because you look at, you know, and I mentioned this on Twitter that you know, when Corey was sacked or laid off, as the case may be. We have to, as soccer fans, take a step back and realize that while on our timelines we may see a bunch of people engaging. You're good. I've got it stopped on mine. That's why. You know, we may see a lot of people on Twitter, on our timelines, on Facebook, on our timelines, saying, "Man, what the heck are the Chronicle thinking? You know, I would totally have. You know, I'm going to get rid of my subscription and that sort of thing." And that's a, you know, we are definitely a fan base, but we are a minority fan base when it comes to sports in the Houston market. And you know, it's sad that the state of affairs, but it's only made worse by the Chronicle. And this is not even one of my rants, guys, and I'm being very level-headed about this, but because of the way that the Chronicle has handled the digital age, I just feel like they have completely missed the mark, and this is just another symptom of that. It's not the result of anything Corey did. Corey was by far one of their best reporters, one of their best coverage guys, and he absolutely busted his butt week in, week out. And if Corey, somehow you're watching, just know that we appreciate everything you did and wish only the best for you. You're absolutely right, Cisco. But with that said, you know, you were kind of getting to the point, I think, that there's just not a lot of good coverage here in Houston for soccer in general. No. Within the media, whether that's radio, whether that's news, you know, the paper, traditional print, or otherwise.
Here's the thing, though, with traditional media, it's all about the ratings. And frankly, soccer does not give them the ratings as much as, for example, talking about the Kardashians. And if you notice, the articles that Cron were sharing, I mean, the day or 2 days after the sacking of Corey was about the Kardashians. It was all about you know, Hollywood and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I think it was you, Cisco, or it was Webb. I don't know. It was one of them too that they called them out saying like, "Hey, so like you gave up, you know, coverage of the Dynamo for this."
Yep,
it was like,
exactly.
That's what your money's going to.
Well, and you know, it sucks, but I think if we're all very honest, it's not surprising just because of the state of the Chronicle itself. You know, my hope is that Corey finds something here in Houston that can provide him enough income to be able to continue doing what he's doing. Because we, as a fan base, we adored Corey, to say it lightly. That's being, you know, very, very light about it. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a lot to us, and I think there's enough of a draw to continue what he started with that. But back to the whole purpose of this, I don't know how we even really, this is the only problem not having a real host, is, you know, the purpose of this is, and I'm going to clarify this now because it's kind of necessary. So going forward, we're not actually going to do video anymore. Video is being nixed because we want the highest quality audio possible. We're not going to stream on YouTube anymore live. We will be streaming strictly over KTXF DB, The Real, every Tuesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Central. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the number one reason is because we believe that we want to become more of a true Houston soccer sports talk show. And that is a true radio show. We want to kind of get into that element and that style of show. So I know that some of you might be cringing right now, but it is the way forward for us, and it's the best way for us to have the opportunity to build this show, the Soccer Power Hour, into something that ultimately becomes a pretty darn good opportunity, not only for us but for the soccer community as a whole.
Yeah, and I feel like we talked about it last night, how radio might have more of a reach with people than going through YouTube. Why? Because, for example, a lot of when you go on now with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, you can actually have TuneIn Radio on and you can listen. You can't do that with YouTube unless you have YouTube Red.
Absolutely. And so, we don't want to lose the engagement with you guys. And Carson hit the nail on the head. We mentioned this, both of us kind of jokingly last night as well, that, we both have faces for radio, is what it is. We don't have faces for video, but part of the reason too is it makes the setup, it makes the day-to-day operations of this thing a little bit lighter on us, so it's not quite so resource intensive. And so we know that we can provide higher quality audio. What we're going to do to try to just enable you guys to stay engaged with us is that we are intending to have a phone line available for you guys to call in, and we are begging, pleading. If you want me to get on my knees and hands and knees tonight, I will do it. For you guys to call in starting next week with your questions, your thoughts, your comments, just like if you would call into Glenn's show or otherwise. And the same thing, we're going to have a text line just like we did before, where you guys can text in. And then we're also going to have email availability too, where you'll be able to email us, and we'll be able to pull that up on the air and talk about whatever topics you guys want to talk about. And keep in mind, we've got the at Soccer Power Hour Twitter page kind of sort of set up at this point. The purpose of that is so you guys can engage with us during the week. We're going to post what we find breaking news-ish. When news breaks, we'll do what we can to get something up there. And we are going to have a website eventually. It's going to take a little bit of time to build it out and get it. Cisco, you need to get in the Dynamo Discord, and then you don't have to worry about it. So I'm kind of pushing a lot of anybody who's in just this chat, YouTube chat, definitely hop into the Dynamo Discord, because this is basically the Dynamo Discord, but even toned down beyond that.
Yeah, and that's also one of the things we talked about, where how YouTube has limited us to just this niche.
Yeah, and so one of the things, and this is no disrespect to you guys, and it's no slight to you guys at all, but
we love you guys.
Yeah, we really do. But we kind of started to notice that it became a little bit cliquish, unintentionally, not intentionally, where we'd get new people in, but it was a very slow trickle, and don't know what means. That's why we're having this show. That's what this show's all about. But cliquish means like, high school cliques. You know what a high school clique is. It became a group of the people who knew what they were talking about because they watched our show. And that's just because you guys are smart. And then, Discord. Hey, Andres, you got to hook Cisco up with the Discord, bruh. Andres will get you. But oh man, having the clock right there is going to be hard for me to ignore. I just get distracted. It's not going to be bad next week. I'm low blood sugar this week. It's been bad. But we just ultimately, we want to show that elevates the level of what we do. And the peel was that next evolution, and we feel like this can be another evolution beyond the peel. And so, we're just really excited, honestly, for this opportunity. There's a lot still to build out and to do as far as website stuff and graphics and video intros and video outros and
yes.
Stuff like that. And we'll be working on those next couple of weeks and stuff like that. Hey, Andres, hit him up via Twitter, brah. I was gonna say, you got him on Twitter. He's got it covered.
Okay.
So we've now gone 12 minutes. Wow, we've really gone a long way into this. Okay, so I'm gonna push that first 5 to 15 down to 17 to 30.
Yeah.
So we got about 3 minutes before we go to our first break, and we are gonna do breaks just like we did with the other one. Obviously, it's a radio show, but we're gonna play music during the break, so you guys actually can listen to stuff while we're breaking.
Real limited right now, but you'll get the idea.
Oh, they're loving it. What are you talking about? They love that music. But I wanted to say this before we go to break and kind of let me run through the show notes for tonight. So We're going to talk about the Dash, and I've got a rant pretty much centered around Kristen Press and NWSL and U.S. Women's National Team and U.S. Soccer and got to Berg and a few other things related to that. And then we're going to talk about the match between the Dash and
Chicago Red Stars.
The Chicago. And then we'll roll right into previewing the Dash versus the Utah Royals, which I'm really looking forward to that on Friday. That's going to be a lot of fun to be at. And I'm going, and Edson's going as well. And then we're going to roll into some RGV discussion because let's be honest, guys, the RGV is the future of the Dynamo. It really is. And you know, it may not be the future of all of the Dynamo, but there is definitely at least one or two future Dynamo players there. And there was some interesting stuff this week that I was privy to that I think will be fun to talk about. And then we're going to roll into talk about the Dynamo versus DCU, recapping that match. We'll talk about the preview between, I can see it, the Dynamo versus New England Revs on Saturday, which I will also be at. And then we're going to roll into talking about the match going on right now, U.S. Men's National Team versus Paraguay. And then we'll kind of just hit some news and notes from around the league. And that'll be it for the night. If you guys have anything you want us to talk about, feel free to throw it up in the chat for tonight. But just a reminder, go ahead right now, go download the TuneIn app on your phone or smart device.
Yes.
And go ahead and search for KTXF, and you guys will find the radio station, and that way you guys can listen to us next week live, starting at 7 o'clock, going until 9 o'clock Central.
Exactly. So, having said all of this, let's go ahead and jump into our first break. And
we got time. You're good.
Okay.
We could talk a little bit more.
What
are your thoughts? That's what I was going to ask you. What are your thoughts about what we're doing? I talked a lot. It's your turn to talk a little.
I mean, I think it's a really great opportunity to take soccer radio, a step further without the limitations of being too tied to the Dynamo organization as a whole, and bring in like new fans over to participate, get their points of views live, rather than just the chat. So having said this, let's go ahead and jump into our first break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Yep. It's going to be a long break, just so you know.
All right, guys, we're back. That sounds a little bit. Oh, it's probably just the headphones.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Houston Soccer Power Hour.
And obviously, the music big give credits to MonsterCat.com.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is where a lot of YouTube streamers get their music for gaming and stuff like that.
So, Callowist, I know you kind of missed the first part of that, or at least I believe you missed it. Callow, actually tell me, did you miss the first part, the first 15 minutes or so? And if so, I'll quickly recap for you. Otherwise, I'm going to roll right into what I'm really here for tonight. Okay, he did miss the first. Okay, so real quick recap. We're switching to more of a radio show, sports talk radio show style, but it's still going to be sports talk soccer radio show. Mostly because we feel like the video was actually probably causing us some issues in terms of stream quality, and we want to have as high a quality stream as possible. We want our audio to be top notch, and so we feel this is the best way forward. And it's going to open up some opportunities for us also as well. It's a lot easier to manage just audio instead of juggling audio and video and sending it to multiple different places and that sort of thing. So going forward, Callow, you'll be able to listen live only via KTXF DB, the reel. You'll have to download the TuneIn app on your smartphone or your smart device and search for KTXF. It'll pull it up and you guys can listen 7 to 9 p.m. Central, going every week on Tuesdays. All right, so I teased this out on Twitter, and I've been waiting for this. Just with bated breath, just absolutely waiting. And I know Taylor's here, or I'm pretty sure Taylor's here, and this is totally 100% for you and anyone else who's majorly WOSO. No chat going forward, correct, Kahlo, sorry. You can do the Discord, though. So, look, at the end of the day, this is what annoys me. So I'm going to read off what Kristen tweeted out, which was her, quote-unquote, her statement regarding what took place. She said, "For reasons that are clear to me and for the betterment of my career, I have chosen to play overseas this season. I respect and appreciate the opportunity that Houston afforded me. Thank you to everyone supporting me through these tough decisions I've had to make for my career. I'm looking forward to joining my former club, RGVFC, and have a successful 3 months there, upwards." So she signed a 3-month contract with Gothenburg over in Sweden. And the Dash retain her NWSL rights, so if she comes back to the NWSL at the end of those 3 months, then a team will have to trade for her rights. She's not coming back to the Dash. And here's the statement by the Dash in response to Kristen Perez's statement. "While we are disappointed in her decision and would have enjoyed having her talents here, we are comfortable with the outcome. We will retain Kristen's player rights in the event that she decides to return to the NWSL in the future." So there's a few things here. First, the most frustrating part of this is that it speaks to the ineptitude of the Dash front office, regardless of how you feel about Vera as a coach and regardless how you feel about Cole as an assistant coach. At the end of the day, it just absolutely speaks to how completely terrible this front office is. They said, it's all good, Taylor, don't worry about it. It's hilarious because you look at every move that the Dash have made. There have been times where the Dash they couldn't figure out how to field the right number of players when they had players available to field. Yes. The front office, the people running the front office don't know the rules for the league, and that some of that falls on the league itself, but most of that falls on the team and falls on the front office. They don't understand, they don't understand the rules, they don't understand the regulations, they don't understand the rosters and how they're supposed to be built. If you look at the way the Dash go about their business versus other teams, especially the good teams, it's crazy how different we are. And it's not successful. So if it's not successful, I take a look at it and I go, well, what the hell do we do to change it? And look, I appreciate people in that front office for who they are, but the results on the pitch are what are killing me. And it's season over season over season over season. And at some point, it's just got to change. As far as Kristen Press, yeah, it is, Cisco. You're not wrong. As far as Kristen Press, look, she made a decision she didn't want to play for the Dash. Most likely that came about because she had talked to national team players, Carly Lloyd, Morgan Bryan, that have had bad experiences here for one reason or another. And basically she was like, I don't really want to go to that club because their front office kind of sucks. And so she made the decision, I'm not going to that club. The Dash apparently spoke with somebody who was part of Press's entourage or groups or whatever the heck it is, and they told her that Press would come, when in reality she had no desire to come here. And so we made a trade, and we traded away 2 players for literally nada. I think we got a draft pick out of it. Maybe.
That's it, 3rd round, I believe.
3rd round draft pick for getting rid of Carly Lloyd and Morgan Bryan. No, wait, Morgan Bryan was a different trade. Carly Lloyd and Janine Becky.
Yeah.
And, all things being all things equal, whatever. I would have loved to have seen Kristen Press here. I was really high on that idea. But the more that I've taken a step back away from it, I kind of wish we would avoid the U.S. Women's National Team players at this point. Because the U.S. Women's National Team players are proving that their commitment is to
the national team.
Well, not even just the national team, but their commitment is not to their NWSL clubs.
No.
It's anything but their NWSL clubs.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. They want to make as much money as possible. Yeah, Blues, unfortunately, it is. So there's a few ways forward from this, right? It's how do you deal with this? How do you fix this? And it's pretty simple, really. That pisses me off. It's really simple. Instead of the way the Dash are doing it right now, which is that, or not the Dash, the NWSL is doing it right now, where U.S. Soccer is subsidizing the specific contracts of these players. U.S. Soccer, all they would have to do is instead subsidize a set amount per team, and then let the team contract with the players. Right now, players are contracted with USSF, with the federation. And because they're contracted with the federation, they hold no commitment, no loyalty, no allegiance to their clubs.
No.
And so they can, and because they're only contracted to U.S. Soccer, they have every right to go over to Europe or wherever and sign a contract over there and make more money than they'll make in NWSL, which is all good and well, whatever, fine, I don't care. My problem is, though, is that this sets a really bad precedence. Because precedence, totally didn't even mean that. Dad joke, and I'm not a dad. But it does. It sets a terrible precedence for the league going forward, because now you're basically saying players that get traded can opt to not go to their team and just, and so what is the value of a U.S. Women's National Team player now? The value is actually a lot less, because what if they decide they don't want to play for you?
Yeah.
And I mean, literally, we traded 2 players for a draft pick, and one of those players was a top national team player for their national team.
And what's the point of these teams, getting into deals with other teams in the NWSL if at the end of the day it's all gonna lay in the hands of the players?
And I can understand some of this also is the U.S. Women's National Team players trying to leverage their existing quote-unquote power to try to force, ultimately they want a CBA going forward. They want a collective bargaining agreement like a lot of other leagues have, and that's cool. I applaud that. But I think the way that they're doing it hurts the overall product on the field. Yeah. And when you're hurting the product of the league, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting the future players that are going to play in that league. And, I got to give a shout out to the ladies that were on that pitch on Sunday, because they went out there and busted their butts. And they didn't have a single U.S. Women's National Team player on that pitch with them besides Jane Campbell, who, by the way, I got a lot of respect for.
Yeah.
And they played pretty dang admirably, all things considered. And we'll go into in just a minute. We'll break down that match because there's a few things I want to call out about that. But, the other side of this, too, is it falls on NWSL to do something, because this is not a sustainable way forward for the league. It's just not. Because we've seen it, it's not just Kristen Press. It's been Carly Lloyd. It's been Megan Klingenberg forced trade out of here. Mo Bryan forced to trade out of here. Carly Lloyd didn't necessarily force the trade out of here, but we were going to trade her out of here. Who else? Crystal Dunn forced to trade out of Washington to go play overseas, and then she came back, and now she's playing for North Carolina, and she got to dictate which team she went to. It's at the end of the day, my biggest concern is that if this doesn't get righted soon, if this doesn't get fixed soon, even completely disregarding the dash issues, if the NWSL issues with U.S. women's national team players doesn't get fixed soon, I think you're going to see a lot of more. We already see a lot of the players that aren't national team players retiring early, stepping away from the game early because they don't make enough money. I think you're going to see even more of that start to happen because now it's almost like they feel like they're second-class citizens. Yeah, Cisco, I know. Alex Morgan and Dom Dwyer's wife,
Sydney LaRue.
No, it's Sydney Dwyer now. She goes by Sydney Dwyer.
Yeah, true.
She's still Sydney LaRue, though. We all know that. But yeah, I mean, it's. I understand they want to leverage whatever opportunities they get, but at the same time, it just speaks to what they're really all about at the end of the day. And I think Haley Carter said it best. Cal, it's not over yet. It's close though. Haley said it best. Even though it sucks that this has happened, and even though it sucks that you may not see your favorite players out there, you still need to go and you still need to support the team. Yeah. It doesn't matter how bad the team is, because you're not supporting the team, you're not supporting the league, you're supporting the players that are there playing, and the players that are there sweating and bleeding and whatever else. They're not crying, that's for damn sure, but breaking limbs as the case may be.
Yeah. So Callow, actually, one of the questions is, my question is, how, because he says that the NWSL needs to cut ties with USSF. How viable is that?
They can't. The USSF is basically funding the league entirely at this point. So, I mean, it's what really needs to happen is because the NWSL is trying to avoid making the same mistakes that MLS did with U.S. men's soccer players, right? Mm-hmm. And because U.S. men's soccer players in that early stages of MLS, they all left to go play overseas instead of staying here because the money wasn't there. And you can do that, but you can do the way that they're doing it. It's just you have to have it at the league level, where the league is the one contracting the players, and then subsidize the league. Don't subsidize their actual contracts so that these players are contracted with the league or with USSF and not even the league. Yeah. Like, at least let it be the league level, so at least the league has some control and can say, hey, we've got a contract here, you've signed it, you've agreed to this, you're staying in the league, we'll help facilitate a trade. I'm okay with that, because at least there will be equity coming back.
Yes.
My problem with this is there was no equity both ways. I mean, we ultimately could have had Sam Kerr out of that trade. Sam Kerr is the best women's player in the world right now, and it's not even close. Ow. And it's not even close at this point. And so, we got a third-round draft pick for a U.S. women's national team star and a Canadian national women's team star. So that's all I got to say. It's my rant. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed off. But it is what it is. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and go to our next break. And
we'll continue talking about the dash, about the actual game. So
yep, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes and 15 seconds or so, roughly.
All right. All right, guys, welcome back. And so we talked a little bit about the whole Christian Press ordeal, about how that's affecting the league, and obviously the shortcomings of the front office. But let's leave that behind, and we'll actually talk about what happened on Sunday when in the season home opener for the Houston Dash, where they
looked really good for 90 minutes. That's
yes.
not even a joke. 90 minutes and like 91 minutes, they looked fantastic.
So they played against the Chicago Red Stars, and they ended up tying 1-1.
Thankfully, Chicago did not have Sam Kerr, because I think we probably would not have had quite the same result if they did.
Yeah, she's that good. Is she that good?
Sam Kerr, she is the Lionel Messi of soccer, women's soccer, and that's not a joke either. She is that freaking amazing.
Okay, I really need to look at her plays more.
Yeah, no, she's incredible. She's a feisty little girl, and she's really not little. She's just a feisty girl entirely. But let's talk about that Dash match. So I was there Sunday night, and the turnout was actually pretty decent, which was good. But I do have to wonder how many of those fans that showed up were actually Dynamo fans that got free tickets from the Dynamo.
Yeah, because I think the announced attendance was like over 5,000.
Yeah, actual attendance was probably close to that. I mean, it was surprisingly well attended. But the Dynamo basically, if you're a Dynamo season ticket holder, they offered tickets, free tickets to Dynamo season ticket holder ticket members. Roughly 6K Cisco, something like that. No, you aren't, Blues. I'm looking at you very mad. But what stood out to me, there were a few things that stood out to me. Number one, Latsko, who's the Dash's essentially center forward, and they really play like a 4-3-3. She looked pretty solid. She does not have the pace that I would kind of hope. I think Kalia Ohai is probably going to supplant her, and although Kaylee go out wide, Kimberly Kiever scored the goal. She's a rookie. Pretty sure she's a rookie. Or at least she made her NWSL debut. And she looked pretty solid too. A lot of the players looked pretty solid, but there were two players in particular that stood out to me like above and beyond the rest. One is not a surprise to anybody, and that's Rachel Daly, who started at right back and looked incredible playing right back. Defensively, she made maybe 2 mistakes, but she recovered very, very well. She was, when she goes forward, which is not a surprise because she's a converted forward, but when she goes forward, her vision on the ball, if there were some other players on that pitch, wingers and forwards that had her vision on the ball, this team would be pretty much unstoppable. Yeah. She had some passes that were very good. The Dash maintained possession very well too. Yeah. That is a big difference from what they used to do, which was they'd give the ball over in the midfield and let the other team score. But it sounds like RGV last year, doesn't it?
That system, though. That system
not meant to be a dig.
Too soon.
So yeah, anyway, so Rachel Daly was one, and then the other player that really stood out to me, and I don't know how many other people noticed this. Mana Shim got signed by the Dash in the off season. She came from Portland, where her contract ran out, and she came here. She trialed here without a contract, and then they signed her. What's really important about this is Mana Shim out in Portland was restricted a little bit in where and how she could play. Here in Houston, she has been freed to play positionally kind of where she wants to play, comfortably how she wants to play. She played center mid. She was kind of like the Eric Alexander, I guess, of the Dash in this case. She's a sturdy player. So what Mana does really well, she does all the little things really well as a soccer player. Yeah. She's not going to be the superstar with all the speed. She's not going to be the superstar with the technical ability on the ball. She's not going to be the superstar that beats you, running down the pitch.
But she's going to be the cog that will make this team function.
She's going to be that player that is going to. She's going to be the cog in the machine that keeps the machine running. Yes. But she's also going to be the player that helps you keep and maintain possession over the long term. Mm-hmm. She is very quick at pivoting where necessary. She is very good aerially, which surprised me because she's not tall by any stretch of the imagination. She would go up against taller and bigger players in the midfield, and she would win the ball. And it's because she understood how to leverage her center of gravity and leverage herself to get the ball away. And that's something you don't find in midfielders all that often in the central midfield. So, and that's a big difference when you have teams that are wanting to do that. They want to play over the top. Well, if she could position herself to prevent that, it's going to be huge. And then she's got good vision. She's not pacey, but she's quick. And she's got good vision. So she's one of those players that she doesn't really need all of that in order to, the technical division is gonna help her, be very important in the attack rather than just trying to maneuver over all around the defenders. Yeah, she's not going to out-dribble you. She's not necessarily going to, run by you. But she's going to outsmart you. She's going to outsmart you. She is the smartest player on the pitch at any given moment, in my opinion, based on what I saw on Sunday. And it was just incredible to me because I knew she was a good player, and I knew that getting her was a huge deal for the Dash. I really did. But I didn't even realize, even knowing that what we're really getting was her football knowledge, her soccer knowledge. And, when you have a soccer knowledgeable player on the pitch, that's also a player that can help coach up players around them. Mana Shim will undoubtedly make players around her better. When you have a player that elevates the level of the players around you, that's a player you want to keep on your team long term. So I hope the Dash do her a solid at the end of the season and sign her up for more years. If they don't, I'm going to march down there and I'm going to make sure they do. So you want to go ahead and talk about the starting 11? So I have it in front of me. Okay, good, because I don't. All right, so in GK we had Jane Campbell. Of course. Yes. Defenders we had Rachel Daly, Amber Brooks, Janine Van Vick. Thank you. The first time that I don't try to do a real pronunciation. Hold on, I'm going to do this from memory. And Christy Mewis at left back. Yes. Then midfield was Mana Shim, Haley Hansen. Yes. And who was the other midfielder? So they have her as two defensive mids, which were that makes sense. And then who's the one that was in front of him? Mathalo. Who's the attack? Oh, Mathalo. Yeah. Okay. So Mathalo. She's 18, 19 years old. Yes. Mathalo is, I want to say she's South African. She came over as part of Vera. Holy cow, she has got some serious potential for a player. Now, granted, this was Chicago. Chicago didn't have Julie Ertz back there, or there any other really big-time players. But at the same time, Mathalo looked like she belonged in the NWSL at 19. And that's a player that's going to grow over this season. I'm excited to see what she brings. She had one ball that she sent over the top of the defense, pin perfect accuracy, like exactly where the running player needed it to be. And and I want to say it was Savannah Jordan that got to the ball. And if she would have just gone ahead and one time that shot, Alyssa Nair would have had no chance at that ball. Yeah. So the other forwards. You had Savannah Jordan, Keever, and then Let's Go. Yes. Yeah. So I was trying to do that from memory. So they have the Dash playing a 4-2-3-1 formation, and then which is system. Yeah. That's our system. That's our Houston system. We play that. Yeah. So the Red Stars played with goalkeeper pronunciation Nair. Alyssa Nair. Sorry. Then Comio, Naughton, Johnson. Gilliland, Huerta, Calaprico. Okay, so here's the thing, right? For a good portion of that match, Mana Shim was basically owning Huerta. Sofia Huerta is a player that should be destroying defenses in NWSL because she's a really good player. and a really good forward actually, and she was nothing. I mean, it between our center backs and between Mana, it was just she wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah,
she was completely.
They limited her.
Yeah, she had nothing. She had nothing to bring.
Calaprico, and then
Danielle Calaprico, by the way. So if there's a player in NWSL that I had wanted when they got drafted, it was Danielle Calaprico. Agreed, Omar. Agreed. That Colaprico, she's a true D mid. She's a true center mid, but she's mostly a D mid.
Yes.
And she's very much like Mana Shimp. She's a very football intelligent player. She plays with intelligence. She's not the biggest player. She's not the fastest player, but she has the capability to do a lot of things that you don't expect her to do. And so it's really fun to watch her out on the pitch too, because she's a player I like watching. So
yeah. So then you have also Kasky. Those were the three midfielders. Then the forwards were Vasconcelos, Green, and Motts. So
yeah, I mean, it was a good match. There, it was very Dash held majority of possession, and there were a lot of good things for the Dash long term going forward. I like what Veer is doing. I like how the players have adapted to what Veer is doing. I like seeing Rachel out there commanding players in front of her and around her, trying to get everybody to understand what she was really, what she wanted to do and what she felt like the team should be doing at that point. And
question.
Yes.
So, do you see Rachel Daly? You said she played well in that right back role. Do you see her fully becoming that role and losing that being a forward?
I think it's almost at a necessity, right? We don't have any outside backs on our roster whatsoever. We just don't. And so I think she fills that role out of necessity. But I think if we were to find a international outside back, I think she would be the one to move up to winger, and Christy Mewis would stay at left back.
What's interesting though is like how for more often than not you see attack-minded players, wingers and strikers being placed in these defensive roles. For example, like Victor Garza last year.
Victor Garza, DeAndre Yedlin.
Yes.
Yedlin, sorry.
And for three times out of
Marcus
four,
Beasley.
3 times out of 4, they actually develop well in those roles.
Well, some of it is pace. Some of it is when you're a winger, you understand how to leverage yourself to beat defenders. So you understand the flip side of that too. How do I not get beaten as an outside back? Yeah. You also understand. You see the pitch better back there, and then you also can make those overlapping runs. Corey Ash is another one too. I didn't even think about that, but that's a good call out.
But that assist by Savannah Jordan.
Shut up on brick shape. Cisco, you son, if you were here right now, I'd beat you senseless.
But that assist,
no brick Shay. Screw that dude.
That assist by Savannah Jordan though. Pinpoint accuracy to where
credit to Kimberly Keever for sliding in and just going for it.
Yes.
She just went for it. It was a great goal. It was great to see. The Dash needed it. I mean it was a good goal. It was a great goal. But the Dash needed it simply because, it's your first match of the season at home. You need to get out on the right foot, and that was a good way to do it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they gave up a very late goal, 91st minute, 90 minute plus 1, off a free kick header
that system.
Set pieces. Set pieces are a struggle, and I think they will improve. I think that it's just something that they have to get used to, and you're missing 2 or 3 key players for the Dash right now that are either coming off injuries or not here yet. Kaya Simon, Kalia Ohai, at least the 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. I think one more too. And so when they get in, that's going to change things tremendously too.
Yeah.
I know you are Cisco. You named a player that just pisses me off right now.
So
it's about time for a break. We went way over, but that's okay.
That's fine.
Yep.
So when we come back, shall we continue with the Dash?
Oh no, we're going right into RGV. It's time. We got to give RGV.
Okay, you sure you don't have anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, that's it.
All right. So when we come back, we'll be talking a little bit about RGVFC. So don't go away just yet.
miles away. A different story told from day to day. I can't read what you're telling me. It's so clear to see. Well, it's so easy. Look at you and I just know. But it's not easy to step aside and let you go. It's never easy to say a thing that might be a whole different story. Whole different story now. Oh, 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 oh. It's a whole different story now. Oh, 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 oh. It's a whole different story now. Time always catches up on those who run. But we have time to change what we've begun. A story once told cannot be undone. And I can read what you're telling.
All right, guys, we're back, and now it's time for Down in the Valley Express. Seems legit. Okay,
Choo choo.
not that express. Okay, so quick question that Harry had. So, as we all know, tomorrow there was supposed to be the game between Reno 1868 and RGV down at HGV Park. It was going to be an unorthodox time. It was going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning. But basically what was going to happen was that it was going to be a school field trip for, I believe, Edinburgh Consolidated Independent School District. So they were going to take the students out to the game to watch them play against Reno. Now, as we all know, there's a cold front that has been coming in through the northern part of Texas and managed to reach us right now. And but the storms are really bad in Dallas, to the point that airlines actually canceled flights to McAllen. So they find themselves, that they can't travel down to the valley to the game, and so the decision was made that they were going to move Harry. They moved the game, like Harry said, to
You're stealing Edson's thunder.
to the 2nd of May. Right. But it was also going to be at 10:30 in the morning. So the kids' day was not going to change for this Reno game. It's just that the date was moved to a later date. It will be on a Wednesday as well. So honestly, so Harry asked, how are the supporters taking this? And honestly, a lot of them were not really happy.
Oh, you're kidding me. They're not happy about a 10:30 a.m. match? Oh, gee, I'm totally shocked and surprised.
Right? So, but see, the way I see it, I mean, it's just one match out of the season. So, how's that going to really hurt? Maybe.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. You got to give the kids a chance to actually come out and see. And it's a really good idea, because maybe these kids have never gone to an RGVFC game. They go, they like, they defeat Reno. They like what they see. They're going to go and invite their parents to, hey, you know what? We should go more often to the games. And so we might see some attendance rise for the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and you have to look at it from a couple of different angles.
It's fine, Harry.
It's all good, Harry. We're just giving you a hard time.
Yeah. AM, Cisco, AM.
There's a few things to that too. I would like to see RGV reach out to, and I don't know how you make this work, right? This has to be something that they have to reach out and work with the local school districts out there. But I'd like to see the school districts make field trips out to HEB Park with the team out there and have a chance to talk to the players and ask them questions about, school and stuff like that. Stuff that you'd expect, young kids to be able to ask. And,
yes.
I mean, the team and the club have to connect to the community.
And I think that's one of the things that Gerson wants to implement, because he's mentioned it many times in the first interviews that he had with the team. One of the things that he did mention was that that he wanted his players to be role models, of these kids. Maybe not necessarily so they can become soccer players, but at least have, be a good example to be, a good citizen.
Just because they don't become soccer players does not mean that they don't become enamored by the game.
Yes.
And sure, there's a lot of kids down there that are already going to be soccer fanatics just by, default because of that area down there in general.
Yes.
But at the same time, if you have a chance to get kids enamored with your club and with, what you're doing, it increases what you can do, not only in the community, but what you can do as a club, what you can do as a team. And it gets your, from a player's perspective, there is nothing more enjoyable than going and talking to a young kid that's interested in soccer and giving them pointers, or they ask you questions and you give them answers. I can tell you that because players have told me that.
Yes.
Like that every player wants to inspire the next generation.
Definitely.
And so just because they don't become soccer players, though, doesn't mean that you can't still inspire them. But at the same time, if that's Gerson, everything that I'm hearing about Gerson makes me love this guy more and more. If you're listening, Gerson, you're doing great. Keep it up. Because that's how you build a culture, right? And I don't mean culture like in terms of play style or anything like that, but that's how you build a culture of committed fans, of loyal fans, of families that are coming out, of kids that grew up watching the game, watching RGV play. I mean, think about it. If you have kids, and however soon you have kids, they grew up as fans of RGV. They grew up and they have kids, and they end up fans of RGV. As a grandparent at that point, I mean, how much fun would it be to take your grandkid to an RGV game because they asked you to take them?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I would really appreciate that more of an organic growth that you're trying to explain, rather than just go support them just because they're your team. They're from the valley.
From the valley,
even though they're technically a farm team.
Yeah.
But because last year what we saw,
I don't sense any bitterness when you say that either. No bitterness whatsoever. None.
No, of course not. No. Definitely. So, that's what was the problem last year, and I keep on coming back to this with Junior Gonzalez. It's that disconnect between team and fans. Him going out, we may have lost 2-0, 5-0, and it's like, oh no, I think we did a good game. We're always improving. Blah, blah, the same typical generic BS that Junior Gonzalez always had. They might have given the crappiest of games, like against Sacramento. He's like, oh no, we did good. Whereas Gerson is very transparent about it, and he does not back away from calling out a specific player who probably did something wrong in the game. Against St. Louis, he called out, maybe they asked him about Pablo Aguilar, and he said, yes, he played well, but he also needs to do this, this, and this. And I have the interview right here, but basically, specifically, he said he needs to carry the ball more, throughout the pitch. Yep. And he also has called out, when we had the interview with him, when we were talking about Derek Luke, he understood, your concern. Yeah. And he also gave you a different point of view as to why it might be needed in the starting 11 of this club.
And it's interesting to me, and we were just talking about Monashim and Daniel Calaprico, how they're both football intelligent players, soccer intelligent players, and I think you see that with Gerson. He's got a mind for the game, and I mentioned this last week. As a matter of fact, he's got a mind for the game, and that's what you want in your coach, because it's somebody who has a mind for the game, can explain what they want their players to do, can get that point across to their players. They also know what to look for in the players. They know how to exploit the strengths and the weaknesses. Yes. And that sort of thing.
That's why players who people thought, I'm sorry, Carson, but who people thought might have a future with the team ended up getting cut because they just didn't fit into what Gerson wants out of a player, which is somebody that's ambitious, that's somebody that's not gonna stop fighting. And yes, I'm talking about Francisco Pungo, who had been signed, very early in the off season to a contract, and then being released because, you know, he was not giving that effort that Gerson wants out of his players. And you saw it against St. Louis. You saw Chuy Enriquez fighting for that ball and winning that ball right at the goal line and almost scoring a goal out of that. You see against San Antonio, you saw all these players. It was like 90th minute, and they were still fighting, trying to get that ball back.
Absolutely.
And so,
you know, Omar has a good point here, and I'm going to kind of refute that point with my own. But he says, you know, I believe the Liga MX influence here in the Valley is hurting the Toros. A young kid may support Tigres, Chivas, etc. Probably the marketing department for the Toros is not doing something.
Right.
So
before you mention your side. Okay. So what I would want to say is that in my point of view, I feel, and I've discussed it with, I posted it in Glenn's post regarding Dynamo with the Tigres Chivas match, and I think I also told Kirsten about it. Is that I feel that these fans, these Hispanic fans, feel like they're going to betray their childhood team if they support another team from the United States, whether it's the Dynamo, whether it's the Toros, whether it's Frisco, whatever. They have such a great allegiance to their childhood team from their country of birth that it's going to be really hard for them to want to support another team from the country that they're living in.
So here's the thing, though, and we were just talking about this. If you engage the kids away from their parents in an environment like you do it as a field trip, you encourage the schools to do a field trip, you cover the cost for it so that the schools aren't paying, not going to cost you much money at all. You bring the kids in, and regardless of who their parents support, they're now talking to players. It's, an experience
that they're not going to get with their team.
You are now talking about a team that has tangible benefits. I can reach out and touch these players.
Yes.
I can't do that with Chivas. I can't do that with Tigres, except for the one time they come to this area a year, if that. Right?
Yes.
So now you're talking about, being being able to, it's the players are reachable. The team is accessible. And I think that's what Gerson understands. He knows that in order to grip that area, in order to get that area to come over to the dark side, if you will, the light side, I guess, at this point. In order to get them to come over to the light side, they have to engage the potential fan base in a place that disconnects them from that Liga MX feel.
Yes. And you know what? And that is a really good plan, because once you get the kids hooked, then the parents have no other choice but to go and follow their kid.
Well, and the thing is they feel less of a betrayal, because now it's about their kids. It's not about the Liga MX thing. Now it's about their kids. It's about going to support the kid. It's not about supporting a different club. It's just about supporting your kid. And now you're in that tournament. Give it 2 to 3 matches. They're going to become hooked themselves and say, "Oh, I don't feel so bad about being out here. This isn't a bad deal."
They'll start realizing that there's not really a direct, barring CONCACAF Champions League, there's not going to be any direct competition between, Toros, Dynamo, and Liga MX or Central American team. And that's one of the things.
Unless we get to CCL, that's totally
that's what I said.
But at the same time, right? That's an opportunity for you to see your 2 favorite teams. If that's how you go. If it's the Dynamo versus whoever, your 2 favorite teams going head to head.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, that's the equivalent of if you're in Europe watching Manchester United go up against Juventus, and those are your 2 favorite teams in Premier League and Serie A.
Yeah.
Harry,
it's a process that has to be done.
And
it's not just that one game.
It has to be a commitment by the organization to understand that this is what you have to do, and this is what it's going to take. It's going to take time.
So Omar's like, my 3-year-old nephew is a big Toros fan. I take him to the home games, and I will not let him watch Liga MX.
You're a good man, Omar.
Good man. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So what I also did want to say is
hashtag fail bad soccer.
I did want to say like in my case, I get ridiculed by my friends from Monterrey, from that I'm in a group on Facebook,
group chat.
About Tigres.
Yeah.
And so they always make fun of me because I not only do I go for Tigres and Real Madrid, but I also obviously go for the Dynamo and the Toros. So everybody's like, oh,
you're the trader of traders.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, he has a team in every block, yada yada yada, like un villamelon in Spanish. That's what they call. And I don't see it like that. But it's going back. It's just that culture where you gotta have. It's that one and maybe a European team, and that's it.
Yeah, but it regardless of what they do, it's going to take time, and they have to be willing to commit to the time. They have to be willing to commit that hey. We understand that it's going to take us doing these things. We understand that it's going to take us committing to doing these things. You don't grow by simply just being there. It's not a build it and they will come situation. It's not field of dreams.
And we've said it many times in both the Peel and down in the Valley. The front office has to take that commitment and be proactive in bringing in these people. And that's one of the things I was talking to Ray Silva last week, because he was at the Chivas versus Tigres game. No, Chivas versus Santos game that happened in HEB Park. And he said that there are very few people from the Toros organization going out to the fans and trying to lure them and talking to them about the Toros. And it's like, I mean, come on. That's one of the things that you have to do is like try to convince them to come. We can't do it all ourselves as soccer fans. The organization has to take initiative and do it as well, because it is their responsibility. They're the ones that benefit from having more fans going into the stadium, buying concessions, buying team merchandise, buying tickets for obviously, and if they're not doing it, how am I supposed to feel as a fan that wants, that my own front office isn't committed to making this team grow? I mean, come on. I can only do so much.
It's a hard sell. It is. It becomes a very hard sell when it's you're dealing with the loyalty, but you're also dealing with an organization that's not engaging enough.
Yes.
In certain aspects, and if Gerson is pushing for that to change, then that's a sign of moving forward and moving in the right direction. And it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. But everything I've seen out of Gerson so far tells me he really is the right guy for this job right now.
Yes.
And I hope that they keep him around at least another 1 or 2 more years, because he is going to help elevate RGV to that level we need them to get to for Dynamo and RGV. But I think we're about at a break now.
Yeah, so before we go on break, big shout out to my dad. So he's one of those that he's gone for Rayados for years. Not because of my mom or anything, but that's a completely different story. But now his number one team is actually the Toros. So it is possible, but he's an exception to the rule. So
he loves soccer first and foremost.
Yes, exactly. So when we come back, we'll continue talking about RGV, give you a little tidbit of what we will talk tomorrow down in the Valley. And then after that, we will finally enter what everybody's probably waiting for, which is the Dynamo talk. So stay, don't leave. And, by the way, like this video. Please like this live stream. Subscribe if you have not already, even though that's not really good.
I was about to say, you're barking up the wrong tree there. If you like what you're hearing, download the TuneIn app on your smartphone or smart device or even your computer, and go ahead and search for KTXF and pull up KTXF DB The Real. We will be on there starting next week, every Tuesday, starting 7 to 9 p.m. Central.
Yes.
And there are big things in the works, so just be prepared.
As well as for down in the Valley. So
absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So we'll be right back.
It's so clear to see. Well, it's so easy. Look at you and I just know, but it's not easy to step aside and let you go. It's never easy to say a thing that might be a whole different story, whole different story now. It's a whole different story now.
All right, guys. Welcome back to. There we go. Is that button? But it doesn't affect the screen.
I know it doesn't affect them, but it affects me being able to hear you.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome back. What were you saying?
All right. Okay. So there was actually a question that was brought up to me that they really wanted for it to be discussed on air in the program, and it has to do not only with RGV but with the Toros. But basically, the question was, what is it about the Dynamo Academy that has not been successful in bringing in quality players to the first team, not including Mames and not including Tyler Derrick?
So, man, it's a loaded question. It really is. But at the end of the day, we have not had. I don't want to word this. Our academy is not crap. We've had very good academy players. We have a large chunk of our players that prefer to go to college versus sticking with the academy and going to RGV. Luca was initially going to do that. Bryce Marion did that. There have been other players that went from the academy straight to college, and I think that's going to be a pretty consistent thing. So you remember me talking about the dash, and I kept pointing out one thing with the dash that's very problematic: the front office.
Yes.
It's not a Nick Calba issue. It's not a Matt Jordan issue. It's not a Wilmer Cabrera issue. It's not a Gerson issue. The issue with our academy, it's I don't feel, and I hope he's not listening, I don't feel that Clarkson is the right guy to be running the academy system for us to have academy players turn into professionally developed players. The problem is he develops teams that are good in the team concept, but they don't develop into youth players. We don't have any top-level talent. We just have a lot of talent that plays together. And he's not good at drawing out the gifts that players have, natural talents and gifts that players have. He teaches them his system, his style, and it's his way or no way. And when you have a head coach, a director of your academy that's like that, it's very hard to keep the really gifted players because invariably they don't want to play that way. They want to play a different way. And so they will go to another academy. They will go play for ECNL. They'll go play for Southeast Youth Soccer Leagues or whatever it is. There's tons of options for them. It's not just the Dynamo Academies. But my bigger struggle is I look at Dallas, who are bringing up tons of players, and I look at here. And what I notice is there's a few players that have moved from Houston to Dallas, specifically to play for Dallas's academy organization. And that's why I say Clarkson's not the right guy. Because when you have players willing to move because they want to play for a different organization, either your academy has completely failed and your academy system needs to be reworked entirely, or there's something else going on that's preventing these players from wanting to play for the Dynamo Academy. And, whatever that is, either way, Clarkson's not the guy, period.
Yeah, because, this is affecting RGV as well. Because
of course.
Yeah, because most of the players that we get, which granted, we get the USL specific players, and thankfully this year we don't have to rely on the players that Dynamo is going to loan to us, because we have already seen that this team has played well with 100% USL players, and so now any players that are loaned from the Dynamo will have to fight for a spot.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be like, oh, you're loaned down. Oh yeah, you'll be the starter.
Well,
no.
That's what we were talking about a few weeks back when we were talking about, even if it was to be Palomino, who we do believe has plenty of talent and plenty of gifts to be more than capable on the pitch. Regardless, he should have to earn that spot.
Yes.
Whoever gets loaned to RGV has to earn their spot. And they do it in practice. You don't do it on game day. You do it in practice first and foremost.
That's the problem, though, because 9 times out of 10, they'll be with the Dynamo practicing, and then all of a sudden, at the last minute, oh yeah, you're going down to RGV. Well, so that doesn't work because
it doesn't. But trust Gerson that he knows what he's doing.
No,
because he's also communicating with Wilmer about what Wilmer's seeing. And if Wilmer says this guy's not putting in the effort in practice, Gerson's not going to start him anyways.
Yeah.
So
and it helps, mean, last week they were here. RGV was here. They played against the Dynamo.
I think you'll see more of that. I think that's something that they really want to do.
The connection between RGV and the Dynamo.
Yep.
And but what I was getting at with that is that they're all players that we bring in from the outside, whether it's draft picks or players we get from the USL. And like I said, you know, it's just been Mames that and Lucatero that are Dynamo Academy products that have been through RGV. I'm not counting that Tyler Derrick because that was just because he was already a first team player.
Or Palomino yet.
Yeah.
But hopefully soon.
Yeah. So, you know, it's very troubling to see.
But what about Charlie Flores? Just kidding.
That's a completely different.
Just kidding.
That's a completely different story, you know. But what I was trying to say, you know, it's something. It just shows you that there's something wrong with the academy. It might be the coach, or it might be different factors, or maybe the mentality of the players. Maybe they are not ready for first team, whether it's USL or MLS.
But think of it this way: if it's the players that the players aren't ready mentally, does that not fall on the academy director to deal with those things? So, no matter what the reason is, no matter what the cause is, the root of that cause all falls back to the same person.
Yes.
It all falls back to the academy director. And, you know, he's also the PDL team director as well. You know, or the head of the PDL team, I think, coach of the PDL team. So, you know, it just, I struggle with it because I feel like while he's a good coach in the team aspect, in terms of developing players, that's not his forte. And while winning championships at the development academy level is great, and we've done that in the past, that's not the end all be all. I don't care how many championships we win as an academy. If we're not developing players, then we're not doing what the academy is there designed to do. But enough about that, because I don't want to drone on about that for very long.
Yeah, because and then just one more thing, it's just that RGV has their own academy now, so that might actually help that RGV, they're now officially affiliated to the USDA.
Really nice.
Not the Department of Agriculture, but the USSF Development Academy. Yeah. So, and
it's
USADA. USADA, and so they were actually competing at the Dallas Cup this past couple of days.
Oh, nice, very very cool.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and drive right into Houston Dynamo, which I'm sure everybody's been waiting for. So
be sure tomorrow down in the valley, 7 p.m.
I'm sorry, what was that? You can say that a little slower. It's okay.
Be sure tomorrow, check out a more in-depth talk about the RGV Toros tomorrow at 7 p.m. on this YouTube channel. Be sure to come back and we'll talk more about RGV. We'll talk about what I couldn't talk about last week about the St. Louis game, as well as this Saturday's game against Sacramento.
Very good. So the Dynamo played DC United on the road this past week, or 2 weeks ago, actually, at this point now. We looked great in the first half, scoring 2 goals in the 30 and 31st minute. It was pretty back-to-back almost. It was pretty crazy. The statistics bear that out a little bit in terms of what the final result was. Second half was DC, first half was us. It came out 2-2. We both had 12 total shots on goal. DC had 6. We had 3 on target. They had 3 off target. We had 8 off target. That still bears out, about the same. The real key statistic here, though, is we only possessed the ball more than DC. This does it based on 5-minute intervals for 3 different 5-minute intervals. So for 75 minutes of this match, we were outpossessed. We outpossessed them for 15 minutes. And it wasn't like it was back-to-back-to-back 15 minutes. It was 3 very widely spread 5-minute spans.
So basically that span where we scored the 2 goals and 2 others, but other than that, it was all DC.
Yeah, actually, if you look at it, that's right about the 30-minute mark right there.
Yeah.
So that's the 30-minute mark, and then that's really
because it was at that point where DC started making all these childish mistakes in the back, losing possession very easily, and obviously with somebody like Elise playing on the wing and that fast pace that he has, they were going to take advantage of it. And but other than that, the Dynamo looked really lackluster, and you can't blame the cold.
No.
I mean, for that being outpossessed the majority of the game, and then not being able to close.
That is the style that they played last year, was that they did not hold possession. With that said, they still aim to possess a whole lot more than 40%.
There's a difference between not having possession but not letting the other team be comfortable even having the ball, and just being overwhelmed by DC United's attack. And that is what happened for most of the game. They were overwhelmed. Chris Sides had a couple of saves. Machado having some mental, wrong decisions at the time. And just the fact that 1 minute away from the final whistle.
From 3 points, yeah.
And not being able to close it out. It was just heartbreaking for me.
It's going to happen on the road. As silly as this sounds, when you're up 2-0, a point on the road is not the worst thing in the world. Statistically speaking, if you get average a point on the road and average 2 points at home, you're going to make the playoffs. Statistically speaking, it bears out in the statistics. What's important though is that again, yet another match where we had 38% crossing versus their 33% crosses. Now, granted, that percentage is based on how much they had the ball as well. But 40% crosses for a team that does not have a forward that should be getting on the end of a cross. Morrow is not a type of player to...
He's not a poacher.
He's not a poacher, but he's not a target man. Mm-hmm. And we continue to try for very long periods of matches trying to make him be a target man. Okay, if you want a target man, sub on Max Steves.
Exactly.
Let Max Steves be that target man, and I guarantee you good things will happen. If you're not going to sub on Max Steves and you're going to try to continue to make Morrow the target man, you need to try something different because it's just not going to work. There are too many clubs that have tall, big center backs that are going to out-physical and out-muscle Morrow on the ball.
We saw it against Vancouver.
Oh, it was a perfect example.
Kendall Waston.
Oh, yeah, easy. They didn't have any trouble whatsoever.
No. It's ridiculous how, and I talked about it last time, it's ridiculous how even though they saw that these crosses were not working, they still were trying to look for Morrow and look for Morrow and look for Morrow. And then also when Elise was the striker, and 9 times out of 10, the ball landed on Kendall Waston's head.
Absolutely. That match was infuriating.
Yeah, definitely. And then this one, it was just like it's almost like a lot of people have said it on social media where maybe this is the Wilmer, I guess you can say the stamp of Wilmer quality where they can't close down games that are really, really, really tight. It's happened with RGV against OKC Energy in that playoff game, and it's happened a couple of times as well with the Dynamo. So it's two completely different set of players. The common denominator is Wilmer Cabrera. Now I'm not totally dissing Wilmer Cabrera because he has shown that with this limited roster, he has done great things with it.
Did you feel like 7 minutes of stoppage time was fair in the second half?
Well, weren't there also like a couple of injuries on the subs?
That's not the question I asked. I asked, did you feel that was fair?
I thought maybe 5.
Okay.
5 would have been.
So one of the things that they're doing this year is they're taking into account time wasting, right? So referees are supposed to be much more giving of extra time if they perceive anything to be potential time wasting.
Omar, get out of here. Get out of here. Do not mention Kubo's name ever again. No, just kidding, man. But don't mention him again. You were saying?
I was saying Kubo sucks. But besides that, 7 minutes is almost becoming the norm now. It's either 4, 5, or 7. I don't think I've seen a 3-minute ending to a game in probably a whole season now at this point. But do you
think it's counterproductive though?
No, because I think too many teams were intentionally wasting way too much time during the second half if they had a big lead and be punished for that to some degree. I'd still like to see the average be more like 5 minutes and not seven just is absurd. If you've played 90 minutes at that point, really 90 plus 2 or 3 in addition for the first half,
Yes.
that's almost 100 minutes plus of time that you've played. And that's a lot on a body that's not used to going 100 plus minutes.
Yeah.
And most MLS players are not used to going 100 plus minutes. My other question for you, and this is really not a question for you, this is kind of a general observation. In looking at the lineup and kind of thinking about the lineup, my real thought is how long until Quioto gets back? And I know you don't have the answer. I'm not expecting you to have an answer. Just
I'm gonna have to say that 2 weeks tops, 2 games tops, and he has to be back.
I do think that Wilmer is, rewarding Wenger for his hard work in the first couple of matches. But I definitely think that we need to see Quioto and Elise out wide together, on opposite wings. Because when they play together, regardless of everything else, they're creating chances.
Yeah.
And, they're beating defenders and they're opening up space in the box.
Because now not only do they have to worry about Elise, but they've also got to worry on the other side, Quioto, and how he's very explosive. He can try shooting from outside the box.
Yep.
He can cross as well. Whereas with Andrew Wenger, I feel like he limits himself to just crossing. And then you've also got players like Eric Alexander, although I think in this game he actually had a shot from outside the box. But more often than not, he just, when he gets the ball outside the box, he might, even though he has an opportunity to shoot, he decides not to. So I think we need to see more. Maybe not have him as a starter right now, because maybe for the fact that he missed preseason and that he said that he was sick. We don't know if he really was sick or not.
He was sick. No, okay. I'll confirm for you. He was actually
sick. So he was sick. So,
but I don't know about 3 to 4 weeks worth of sick. But he was definitely sick for at least a good portion of it.
So, what I'm trying to say...
That was 9.5 minutes of stoppage time.
What I'm trying to say is that we need to have more minutes of... Even if he doesn't start, but he needs to be subbed in earlier in the match. That way... It's not when by the time Quioto comes in, Elise is already tired.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
no, you are definitely not wrong. That's for sure. Real quack. Goals and assists for the game. Like I said, 30th and 31st minutes. The 30th minute was Elise. 31st minute was Manotas, of course, assisted by Elise, who by the way, this season is.
If you don't have him in your fantasy, shame on you.
Not only that, but he is actually the best winger, striker, forward in the league right now. Not based on his number of goals scored, but based on how many goals he's been part of.
Yes.
And just statistics, analysis, evolved tracks and things like that worth looking into. And then goals in the 50th minute and the 90 plus 7th minute. By DCU, by Darren Maddox, assisted by Assad, and Acosta, assisted by Ariola and Brilliant.
I want to talk about that equalizing goal. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned it, how uncharacteristically Machado is having mental mistakes. In that one, why did he was the only defender that stayed back. Everybody else had moved up in a block to put the attackers in offside, and he stayed back. He actually allowed the attacker to be onside, one-on-one against Seitz, who was coming out. But by the time he came out, he had already shot. And so, why? Is Senderos really that important in this lineup right now?
No, it has. Well, Leonardo is not his best partner. Senderos is his best partner. I can't explain. I really can't explain that goal away. And to be fair, that's 90 plus 7 minutes for a guy who was getting ready to run off to Panama to go play a match.
But still, I mean, you're playing. You have the orange shirt on right now.
No, I get it.
No, I know.
I get it. But mentally, I'm just saying mentally though. That's all.
I know, but I'm just saying you're supposed to be the leader right now because Senderos is not in the roster. You're the leader of the back line.
Did he have the armband? Because I don't think he had the captain's armband, my friend.
No, it was Beasley, but you're as a center back. You're the center back.
But the thing is, if Beasley's got the armband, is it really on Machado to lead that back line, or is that really more should that be Beasley's responsibility as captain of the team?
I always think, even though here's the thing though, I always feel like, for example, even though somebody else might have the captain's armband, it's the job of the center back.
It is.
Well,
you look at Connor Donovan and Kyle Adams from that match that we saw against San Antonio.
And they're not captains.
Well, no, but what I'm trying to get at is Kyle Adams is not a vocal player, right? So that's your Machado, in my opinion. Machado's not a vocal player. Senderos is Connor Donovan.
And Leonardo is not a vocal player either.
And Leonardo's not a vocal player. And the problem is when you have two non-vocal players next to each other, it's very hard for them to command players around them. And Leonardo's not one to talk. Machado's not one to talk. You end up with those mistakes. Look at how, I mean, they had those mistakes when it was Leonardo and Machado. Same type of stuff on the road would happen all the time. So it's not so much that it's a Wilmer issue or a Wilmer system issue or anything like that. It's just, it happens because the center backs you're bringing in are not necessarily specifically vocal center backs. You need one vocal center back that's a leader, and you need to have a backup for that particular center back.
Yes.
You don't need to have a generic backup in Leonardo that can slot in, but he's not real vocal. He's not going to talk to Machado.
Yeah.
They just kind of know one another. And mistakes do happen. Let's bear that in mind as well. Mistakes do happen. Even the best teams give up goals. Real Madrid does that in droves. Ouch. But at the end of the day, we took a point on the road. We came out on fire. Give me 90 minutes of that fire. Okay, really probably at this point, give me 90 plus 7 minutes of that fire, and I'll be a happy camper, even if we don't win the game. If you give me 90 plus 7 minutes of that first 45-minute fire, I will be happy. Because more times than not, we will win matches on the road. And so the fact that they came out and they showed that they can come out with that attack, they can come out with that fire, they can come out with that drive and that determination to attack and to win the match. That tells me that at least they're going for it away matches. They're not just sitting back waiting for teams to come to them. Now in the second half, that's a totally different story. But at least in the first half, they're going out trying to get ahead. But it's good. It's better than in years past where we would sit back for the entire match and then hope to nick a goal at the very last minute. Yeah. And I think we'll find that over the course of the season that our road form will improve dramatically. I mean, we've got one away match right now under our belt, and it's a draw. Could be far worse. We're 1-1-1 right now.
Yes.
Could be worse. With another home match coming up on Saturday against New England Revolution. And with that said, let's go ahead and do a break.
Yeah,
I need some soda. Thirsty.
All right, so when we come back, we will continue talking about the Houston Dynamo. Be sure to also participate in the chat. Take advantage that this is going to be the last time we'll be using the chat. So give us your questions and anything else. So when we come back, we'll actually be talking about the next game for the Dynamo, which is going to be against New England Revolution, which will be at home here at BVVA Compass Stadium on Saturday at 7:30.
Correct.
So if you guys have not gotten your tickets yet, do so now. So we shall be back.
Music me.
Far
Gotta learn to fade that out, buddy.
That is, I'm gonna have to take the settings on XSplit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So welcome back, guys. Thank you all for still being here. We are right now. It is 8:36, and we still got a lot of stuff to talk about the Dynamo. So
this is a Dynamo Houston soccer podcast. The Rockets are currently up 83-43
against
the Bulls.
Nice.
40 points. Holy crap!
So how's the USM? Oh yeah, might as well just say what scores so far.
Of what?
USMNT.
You mean USMNT?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. 1-0 against Paraguay right now.
And who did you say it was?
Bobby Wood scored a penalty goal.
All right, so things are with these, at least with these young guys. There's some potential.
Timothy Weah apparently looks really good on the pitch right now. I'm kind of sad I'm not watching it at the moment.
Oh well. Yeah, but you'll
full time. We win 1-0.
Nice.
Apparently, we didn't look very good in the win, though.
It's okay. You'll be able to see the Mexico game right now at 9.
Oh, good. So then I can watch some soccer, good soccer. I was about to say good soccer, but it's Mexico, so those two things don't go.
Well, they're playing against Croatia.
Oh, okay. So Croatia will be some good soccer. Right, good.
Their B team.
Yeah, it's probably both their B teams. I would assume they're both ramping up for World Cup, aren't they?
Yeah. That's a completely different story with Juan Carlos Osorio and his rotations.
Yeah,
oh my God,
true as well.
So, anyways, let's go ahead and get back on topic. So, this Saturday, like I said, we're gonna be playing against the New England Revolution. What you got for me?
Don't allow last-minute goals.
That's a start.
That's my takeaway from going into this New England Revolution.
All right, what is before we go more in depth? What is your prediction?
Regular prediction.
It's
a home match. It's New England's not very good. I'm going to get beat up for this prediction. 3-0 Dynamo.
Okay. My prediction, I'm going to say 3-1.
Okay, I can see that.
3-1. Now, what is your bold, extravagant prediction?
Elise gets his first MLS hat trick.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that VAR will be used twice in the game, and that is going to be my bold prediction.
Hey Cisco, if you're watching, we want your bold prediction. Oh, there's Callow. He gave his
3-1
as well.
I'm telling you, man.
I can see it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously 3-0.
Yeah,
3-1. That's not a big difference in scoreline.
Mm-hmm. So, honestly, more recently in preseason, New England Revolution.
Callow's bold prediction is Wenger's going to score.
I can see that as well. Mm-hmm. But
you go ahead.
So we played against New England Revolution in the final of Phoenix
Mobile
Cup.
Sun.
Mobile Mini Desert Sun Cup. That is a tongue twister in and of itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe we lost against penalties. Against penalties.
Yeah, we took them all the way to penalties and lost to penalties.
Okay. So, but how have they been doing in regular season? Let's go ahead and bring that up because
not all that great. I'm sure. I'll tell you here shortly. I'm pulling it up right now. I was in the process when you.
So the last game that they played, they tied against New York City FC at home, 2-2. Previously, they beat Colorado Rapids 2-1.
It's a terrible team
at home. And that's the clash of dumpster
2-0 to Philadelphia in week 1.
And Justin's gonna get all happy.
And the worst part about that is the Revs had 2 red cards, not just one. They had 2 red cards in that match.
Yeah,
which that's impressive to get 2 in a match. It really is.
You have to be really, really out of your element.
So they've scored 4 goals in 2 matches, and they average about 12 shots per game, which is really low. They average about 42.3% possession. So this is going to be a game of teams that intend to counterattack each other. And
the difference, I think, the difference would be who is more comfortable with having possession.
I think it's going to be the Dynamo, to be totally honest with you. I do.
Yeah, especially if we're starting to see a transition from completely counterattacking to being more possession like Wilmer Cabrera has usually been. So interesting to note, against New York City FC, the goal scorers were Juan Agudelo and Diego Fagundes. So, and that, I don't know. I think that this is, if this team playing against this team is the best opportunity the Dynamo have to repeat something like they did against Atlanta.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is the 4th game of the season, so I'm just saying, like, you mean the best chance so far, or the best for the rest of the season?
The best chance so far to do another blowout that'll capture the attention of Dynamo fans. And maybe see some more people actually going out to the games. That even though maybe at home we might not be getting the best of results, and that we did lose against Vancouver Whitecaps at home, but we went down fighting. We went down, trying to look for chances to score. Maybe not the best decisions were made, but at least they didn't give up. So
yeah, I mean, that'll be a big part of it, is if the team can come out on the front foot like they typically do at home, and if they can continue to push on the front foot the entire match.
Yes.
And New England is the type of team that they're gonna go ahead and welcome you coming at them. And so I say 3-0, but I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up like a 1-0 match, a 1-1, a 2-1, low scoring. Kind of a slugfest in midfield, both teams losing possession in the final third frequently.
Yes.
Type of match. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes that way. I'd love if it's a blowout for us, and not if we come out, we just are on fire. Elias gets 3 goals in the first 15 minutes, whatever it may be. But I know how New England plays, and I know how we play, and I think when you have two teams that like to sit back and absorb your pressure a little bit, and don't necessarily specifically want to possess the ball, it's going to be a long night for both clubs. But on the flip side of that, Wilmer is trying to institute this whole concept of we want to be more possession-oriented. Well, here's the perfect opportunity for them to prove that they've begun to adapt to this possession-oriented game and show that they can possess the ball consistently and continuously for a full 90 minutes. Because New England's going to be the type of team that's going to let you do that if you do it. And you're not going to get a lot of chances, but the chances you get, if you can maximize those chances and make good on your chances, then you're going to win this game.
So right now, leading goal scorer is Diego Fagundes. He's got 2 goals, followed by Chris Turning and Juan Agudelo. Leading assister is Christian Penilla with 2 assists, as well as Wilfred Saibo. He's got 2 assists as well. And shots on goal, the leading player is Christian Penilla with 7 shots, 2 of them on goal. Followed by Fagundes with 5.
Yep. It'll be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch the Dynamo go against them and see if the Dynamo have adapted to kind of this change in dealing with the team that is comfortable doing exactly what you don't want them to do. So I got we'll see. We'll see what kind of comes of that. But speaking of the U.S. men's national team, there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about related to the U.S. men's national team. The first is, why are we only playing 1 match in this window when 90% of other teams are playing 2 matches in this window? Why are you limiting your opportunities and you have young players that you want to get minutes. So why are you limiting their opportunities? Is it because MLS wanted to play some matches this week, and so you didn't want to have to conflict with them, or what? I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I'd love an answer on that. And I know we're not going to get one.
Yeah.
But tonight, like I said, they won 1-0 tonight. But again, that was a penalty goal. I saw something that like in the 70th minute or something like that, we'd only generated 1 chance on goal the entire night.
Yes.
That's not good. That's not good at all. That's the worst possible thing, in my opinion. It's like, that's just bad. So a couple of notes from this. I'm going to give you the lineup. Zach Steffen in goal. Perfect. I'm totally okay with that. Steffen is a fantastic goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. Your starting defenders were DeAndre Yedlin, Matt Miazga, Cameron Carter-Vickers, and Jorge Villafana. Your midfielders were Nagbe. Why does Nagbe continue to be called up? He's been trash for Atlanta. It's time to find somebody else. Completely overrated. And to be fair, he's had moments, but I need somebody who's consistent. I don't need moments. I really don't.
Yes.
You had Will Trapp, who honestly has deserved to call up again for a while. Tyler Adams, another good midfielder. Kenny Saif and Marky Delgado. I thought it was Delgado. Marky Delgado. Mm-hmm. Both got their start up. Yeah, it's Delgado. They misspelled it on here. ESPN fixture. I found a typo in your article.
Come on, ESPN.
Killing me, Smalls. Marky Delgado and Saif both got their first caps, I believe. Their first caps, which is pretty awesome. Or at least their first starts for the U.S. men's national team. Sorry. And then Bobby Wood up top, and Bobby Wood was the one who scored the penalty goal. My problem with this is that there are players in your system that probably that deserve an opportunity to start over Nagbe. There are players that deserve to start over Tyler Adams, although I'm glad to see Tyler Adams get a shot. You don't have, and maybe it comes down to this. Maybe it comes down to the fact that Saracen knows that he is not long for this position. Mm-hmm. In a few months, he's probably not going to be head coach of the U.S. men's national team anymore.
No.
And so maybe he just kind of feels like, I'm going to put out there what I can put out there, and we'll just see what happens. I mean, they did win, so I can't fault him too much. But at the same time,
but you're also talking about a Paraguayan team that's also in the rebuilding stage.
Absolutely, exactly. This wasn't a world-class standout, squad that you were facing. And I think my biggest concern out of all this is DeAndre Yedlin is still your best outside back. Jorge Villafana is still your best outside back. I mean, Villafana is great at times, but he's also proven to be very mistake-prone. DeAndre Yedlin, same type of thing. And I am ready, beyond a shadow of a doubt, for a change. I'm ready to see who we bring in as coach. If anything, my huge concern with that is that the last time we brought in a coach, we brought in Bruce Arena, and we all know how that went. So there's definitely an opportunity to improve, to say the least. And start this cycle out, or continue this cycle in a way that improves and rebuilds the system from the ground up. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this is something that we repair the issues in one cycle either. I think this is a 2 or 3 cycle issue. But I would like to see improvement from last cycle to this cycle. Beating a wounded Paraguay B team at this point really is nothing to be proud of. And beating them by a single penalty goal and only managing 1 or 2 shots on goal throughout the entire match is.
So basically, you're just parking the bus.
I mean, and you're not. The problem is you have no creativity in midfield, opening up opportunities for.
So you're overwhelmed.
You're overwhelmed. You can't handle it. They can't handle the high pressure.
My point of view is that we're probably seeing this because, like you mentioned, how do you pronounce his name again? Saracen.
Mm-hmm.
He is an interim coach, so he's not really involved in implementing a certain system in these players. They're just, okay, you guys are going to be the 11 out there. Let's see what you can come up with. He just wants you to get some experience at the national level against regular level teams, just so you can get the caps, so that by the time the actual coach comes in, you guys have some experience out there on the field, and then he will be in charge of implementing the system and making sure that these players understand the system.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So basically, this is just a trial. This is like your free month trial of Netflix, where you're just gonna be watching whatever just because you have it. And then once you actually get the subscription, then you already focus. Okay, this is what I want to see. Okay.
So shifting from the U.S. men's national team, we've kind of buried that one, I think.
Let's talk about the Mexican national team.
No, not at all.
Seems legit. Okay.
I was gonna mention MLS Fantasy. I am getting my butt kicked. The changes this year to MLS Fantasy have made me useless in MLS Fantasy. They have changed the way the points
blame
are.
The system.
No, even Travis will tell you the system's whack. They changed how points are calculated this year. They've added. I've got players that don't deserve getting points that I'm like, how do they have this many points? And then players that are consistently good players ending up with 1 or 2 points each week. And I'm like, what the heck? And at the end of the day, if you have one superstar player that goes and gets 1 or 2 goals in a week and you've captained them, and you have 2 or 3 defenders that end up with a clean sheet and a goalkeeper with a clean sheet, you win your week. That's all it takes is those 3 things happening for you.
Yeah.
And so there's too much emphasis this year on defenders. Way too much emphasis on defenders. Mm-hmm. And part of that is defenders in general in MLS now, there's not many teams that are running clean sheets week over week.
Yeah.
And so defenders are becoming less and less valuable, but at the same time more and more valuable, because if you can find the ones that are consistently working towards clean sheets, you have the best opportunity to get the most points out of defenders.
Yeah. So you really have to analyze.
You have to spend a lot of time on it, surprisingly a lot more than I expected. So I've been getting my butt kicked, and I don't mind throwing it out there. It has nothing to do with understanding the game and everything to do with understanding how MLS Fantasy works. I am still clueless. I've asked Travis to help me out. I'm so bad at it right now.
Well,
but on the flip side, the current leader in our prediction spreadsheet is none other than myself, who currently has the lead in the predictions. I keep throwing that out there.
How bad am I doing?
I don't know. I've got to find it. I don't even know if I still have access to it, to be totally honest with you.
So while you're at that, so let me just go ahead and say the starting 11 for this Mexico versus Croatia game. And we'll go ahead and start with Croatia.
Why are we talking about the Mexican national team?
Just so we can kind of
Are you
waste
killing time? Oh, okay.
Killing time so you can find that. Okay, so Croatia's going to go with Kalinic, Vida, Korluka, Pivaric, Zalško, Badelic, Rakitic, Kovacic, Rebic, Xhaka, and Kamaric. And then Mexico's starting 11 will be Guillermo Ochoa as the goalkeeper.
Carlos says, who cares?
Well, I'm just trying to waste time here. Nestor Araujo.
I can't pull it up because they locked us out of the account.
That's true.
They changed the password on us. Harry says he's 17th out of 24, so I'm at least doing better than Harry. Thanks, Harry. That makes me feel slightly better. I think I'm probably like 16th out of 24th at this point.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I'm going to pull that up so you can keep going and keep chatting about your Mexican national team. And then we're going to close out because it's almost time to close out.
Yeah, so Nestor Araujo, Hugo Ayala, Tigres, and then also Hector Moreno, and then Jorge El Burrito Hernandez, Omar Govea, they have it in a video format, so Andres Guardado, Rodolfo Pizarro of Chivas, who finally gets a start, Carlos Vela from LAFC, and Javier El Chicharito Hernandez, Chichadios, as well as Chucky Irving and Chucky Lozano. That is going to be the starting 11 for Mexico. It's going to be an interesting match for both teams.
All right, so snap! I was really bad. Oh, actually, I was top 50% this past week in fantasy in the Dynamo League, anyways, which is pretty solid. Wow, I am ranked second in another league. Whoa, I'm ranked second in our league. What in the world is going on? I am totally surprised. Oh, I'm not ranked second. What the? This thing is dumb. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm ranked ninth. That's respectable. Where are you ranked at, by the way?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not even on there.
Why aren't you on here? Oh, well, I'm beating Justin. That's good. That's good. Okay. I was just curious. Oh, I'm beating Josh and Justin. Who would have thought that? I'm ranked 9th, but I'm tied for second is what it is in win, draw, loss, because I'm at 2-0-1, so I've won 2 of my matchups. That's good.
Yes.
I have a terrible point differential, though. I have one of the worst points for, actually, in our league. But I have managed to face the worst possible teams in the first couple of weeks. So this will be interesting to see. being tied second to this will be this is where teams start to kind of spread out a little bit more. I do notice that I think Travis is not actually in here. I know he's got a team. I'd be curious who his team is. Oh, there he is. I'm ahead of Travis. Travis is in 13th. And this is a guy that knows fantasy. He used to write for MLS Fantasy. That's incredible. So, I mean, that says it all kind of right there, is that it's not, fantasy this year is very hit or miss.
Yeah.
There's no predicting it, just like the matches themselves are very hit or miss. But with all that said,
we are 4 minutes away from the 2-hour mark.
We are. So we're about to close. We're going to go ahead and start our closeout process. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, you really should have, Callow. I'm sad. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. A reminder, next week we will be on KTXF, DB The Real. You can tune in via the TuneIn app. Download it on your smartphone, your smart device, or your computer, and search for KTXF, and you'll find KTXF, DB The Real, and you can listen to us live starting at 7 to 9.
Yes.
And then there's Down in the Valley tomorrow on YouTube, which eventually that may change.
Yes.
But for now, that'll be on YouTube.
And so there's a lot of things that I'm planning, time permitting, as well as how this rolls out as far as Dynamo coverage. But what I'm planning to do, if Toros FO lets me, is to do pre-game and post-game shows after every home game
of
the Toros, and probably have calls enabled so that way the RGV fan base can actually participate in this. It's kind of like they do in Monterrey.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for
tuning in.
Okay, there we go. I saw that. No, it's because I saw that it said stream closed. Okay.
Oh, I'm not looking at that. I got it spinning on my
So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure also, I will be tweeting out the link that TuneIn gives directly to the actual station on the app. So be sure to retweet it whenever I do launch it, and that way you'll have it ready in your favorites when next Tuesday comes by.
And I will say this as well, guys. We're gonna be, like I said, we're gonna build out a website for this. We're gonna build out a Facebook page type stuff and all that. With the intent of trying to get you guys to have a home for your soccer chat other than the Discord. Although the Discord is still my favorite thing in the world, because it's just such a random conversation. It helps my work days go a lot faster, which I do appreciate.
And be sure to let all of your friends and family know.
Definitely. Fans. Share when we tweet stuff out. And you guys are following us. Definitely share this stuff out. You can follow us. We are set up on Twitter at Soccer Power Hour, which is pretty awesome that we were able to get that. Nobody had that. It's at Soccer Power Hour. We'll be tweeting out there throughout the week, so definitely give us a follow and share out stuff we tweet so that we can get some extra people following, because it definitely helps.
Yes, definitely. So until next week, I'm Edson,
and I'm Sean,
and this has been the Houston Soccer Power Hour.
Good job. Forever Orange, Somos Toros,
we are
and
Toros.
Dash the F on.
Exactly. All right, guys. Take care.
Peace.
No, desafortunadamente, afortunadamente, como lo quieras poner, no mandaron a ninguno porque ellos tienen bastantes lesiones y están con falta de jugadores. Entonces, esta semana no nos mandaron, todos los chicos vinieron trabajando, que en sí fue lindo porque nos dio la oportunidad que después de 6 semanas pudiéramos nosotros sacar 18 del grupo que viene trabajando desde que empezamos. I thought overall it was decent. It was a decent effort. I thought the effort was good. I thought that at times